It's ding ding, two men in a ring. We put pride in your stride and a quiver in your liver. You want 'em, we've got 'em, coming to you. Loud and proud, he's the biggest, he's the baddest. It's Mr. Gavin Davis on the Gavin Davis Podcast Show.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gavin Davis Podcast. Tonight's guest, Lloyd Cooper, aka the Yorkshire Gripper, second degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Lloyd, thanks for coming on, mate.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, I've been after you for a while. I've been wanting you to come on for a while, mate, because I follow your Instagram, right? And there's no one in the BJJ community that makes me chuckle on Instagram as much as you do. All right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're gonna come to that. We'll come to your Instagram and stuff like that
Fair
and your
enough.
inspirational quotes, right? First of all, let's start at the beginning. How did you get into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, mate?
Oh, interestingly, actually, I posted a video about this recently, which did really, really well. Now, it was an interesting time in my life. I'd left school, not really sure what I was doing. Ended up working at Morrison's, ended up on a night shift, which was even worse, and just kind of like that old dead-end job thing, doing a night shift. So what I got into quite heavily was just lifting weights. So I'd work, I think, 10, 6 nights, and then I'd be straight in the gym at 6, lift weights for an hour and a half, and I was doing pretty good, getting quite strong. One of my buddies at the time, I was like, oh, great, I'm 70 kilos and I've just benched 120. I'm a savage now, you know what I mean? And he was like, so what does that mean? What does that mean? And he said, come and try this class with me tonight, because I was on a night off. I was like, all right, whatever. So it was funny. So it was a 2 hour class. The first hour was MMA, and the second hour was grappling. So the first hour in MMA, I'd like gloved up, got some shin pads on, and the coach literally kicked my legs from underneath me about 20 times. I think I got a concussion from slamming the floor so much. So I was like, fuck, I've just had the shit beaten out of me. Then I was like, okay, this jiu-jitsu is a bit softer, there's no striking. So I tried that.
Yeah.
A typical softy mindset. I was like, oh, I'll go with the guy. He's 14. I'll go with that young guy there. I'll go with him. And the 14-year-old pulled 21-year-old me to pieces. It wasn't even close. It was like triangle, triangle, armbar, armbar. And I got so pissed off in the triangle, I was like, nah, fuck it. She's not going to tap. Bit tough, not tap. And I was seeing all the stars, and
Yeah.
that was it. I was hooked. I was like, how can objectively a child pull a grown adult? And I thought I was strong, fit, healthy, ready to go.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that was left upon me is that, I guess, maybe watching movies or just thinking that I was in shape is good enough to translate into, real fighting and real combat and things like that. And
But you
I
probably were in
realized,
shape and you probably were strong for 70 kilo or
oh
72
yeah,
kilo.
dude.
You probably were.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, I've just done nothing but work nights, lift weights every single day, and eat really well. So, yeah, I was, ripped up, 21 years old, prime of my life. But it means a grand total of fuck all in the context of
Yeah, mate, I get it. Like I'm only 64 kilo, but yeah, obviously depends on the level. You get white belts coming in who can be fairly big, and I'm rolling with them, and within a couple of minutes, their eyes are massive, and they're like, I don't get that. I just don't get it. And I'm like, well, it's jiu-jitsu for you. And I'm a glorified midget as well. So
No, but I think that's the interesting fact. It's the game changer in terms of power application. You know what I mean? Is the fact that, you know, at least jiu-jitsu or judo, wrestling, there's an element that you can punch well above your weight category just as a function of your technical ability. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that really, really shocked me, was that you could be, manhandled. So, very fortunate for me. I had a positive response to that negative experience. You know what I mean? I was like, I need to know what happened to me, because my entire world just got shook up. And most people, I guess, and I'm sure you've seen it in your jiu-jitsu time as well, most people don't survive that experience. You know what I mean? They come through a jiu-jitsu door, they get beat up a couple of times, and then like, fuck this, I'm gonna go do something else, and go back to sitting on the settee with a can of beer or something like that. So
yeah,
I am fortunate that that one difficult experience and blowing my expectations of what was capable, and my response was, let's figure this out, let's get back in. And even today, I've reflected upon why my response was that, because I've not had a particularly great amount of difficulty or adversary before that, but I had a response that was maybe a product of some kind of adversary. So really, really odd response, but thank God that, 16 and a half years ago that I had that experience, and here we are today, mate.
Who were you training with back then, mate?
Oh, fucking hell. It was Clay Lane Martial Arts in Doncaster. So the coach was a guy called Paul Murphy, like I suppose
Okay.
around here in Yorkshire, well-known MMA guy, promoter.
Yeah.
So I guess, product of like moving around. I started out with a guy called Monkey in Sheffield, and that was like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu style. After a year, I moved to Manchester for uni.
Yeah.
Did a bit of MMA with Rosie Sexton. So
Yeah. And Paul Rimmer and
UFC.
them. Is it Paul
Yeah,
Rimmer and all them?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
just as Rosie had left SBG, I did a year training with her, and then she moved to Next Gen. So I did MMA for a few years. Had a
Yeah.
couple of matches. That was really good. And working with Rosie specifically, but Paul Rimmer at Next Gen as well. Those guys really taught me about professionalism. And all the way through that time, I was training at Factory as well. So kind of like splitting my time between jiu-jitsu and MMA. After like my third fight, after 9 months, I pulled my head up and I was like, well, I've not actually thought about MMA. I've just been doing jiu-jitsu. And Adam remains my coach today, I guess. Look, I guess since purple belt, largely speaking, I've taught myself, done my own thing. But me
Right.
and Adam have a very close relationship. He's awarded me my second degree. He runs Factory in Manchester, and I've run Gripper since 2019.
Yeah. I got a bit. I don't know Adam. I don't know him. Um,
Okay.
I've never
You
come
good training
across.
partner for you? Yeah, similar 60 something kilos
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. I've never come across him, mate, to be honest with you. So, uh, if I'm up that neck of the woods, I doubt, because I'm living down in Oxford now. But if I'm up back in North Wales
Yeah,
at my
sure.
mum's or something in Manchester area, and
Yeah, it's just south of Manchester, Stockport, dude.
yeah, yeah, because I know Tom Blackledge is all like in that Wigan area, isn't he? And
Oh, I love Tom. Yeah, I did a
yeah,
seminar at Top Gym recently.
yeah,
He's a guy, I look up to a lot in terms of his mindset, his coaching ability. I knew of Tom for years, and then obviously in recent years started talking over the internet, and
yeah,
his application of stoicism, faith, just outside of like jiu-jitsu, and how all that translates into how he affects or positively influences people's lives. So yeah, another legend.
Well, did you see Ewan Davis's fight last night on Cage Warriors?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
He's one of Tom's, but he's from Wrexham. He used to train with me and Willie Williams years ago.
Right.
And as I say, I don't know what Tom's pumping into him mindset wise, but that lad is sharp. And
Yeah.
I think he's going to go mega far, mate.
Oh wow.
I think he's 6-0 now, Cage Warriors.
I think there's a lot to be said for mindset though, and if at least in my experience, I've seen a lot of different gyms, especially I've done a load of seminars, and there's coaches who are just going to coach on technique, and there's those different tier of coaches, in my opinion, that they're trying to affect every aspect of your life positively, and mental game is a significant one. You know what I mean? And something else I spoke about on Instagram recently was like, it becomes more and more of an edge the more the belt levels you go. You know what I mean? At white belt, if you just got to have a couple of simple techniques, you're going to get away with being dangerous. But when you get to the black belt and the margins are very fine, the technique is the same. Something like mindset can have a huge impact on the outcome. And like I said, somebody like Tom Blackledge, who spends a lot of his time cultivating his understanding and application of that, and that's why the results for his team are as such.
Yeah, definitely top level coaching. Um, with regard to what you were just saying there about going through belts and that, I've actually rolled with people more in the gym environment. I've noticed it than in a competition environment that I've known as soon as I've looked in their eyes that they've lost.
Yeah,
You get that a
yeah.
lot.
I love the fact that you said that. This is and you know what? I suppose I think there's two extremes in schools. The thought there's people who just think just rolling and training's enough, and then there's the people at the opposite end of the spectrum who try to get every margin where they can, fitness, diet, mentality, all of that. And I always think back to like the Tyson documentary film from years ago. He talks about looking at the guy in the eyes and he keeps watching him and he keeps watching him, keeps watching it, and he waits until he breaks and I know I've got you. And yeah, look, that's something I've done from a sports psychology perspective. I try to I've worked on that. What I tend to do is I look for somebody's nerves, and what I'll do in like mantra terms in my brain is that I'll see that they're nervous and I'll reinforce my own confidence with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even little games like I'll look at you, like I say, I'll break eye contact. I'll tell you, I've got a funny story actually about mindset. I'm not going to name any names, but I did a competition several years back, and somebody come up to me like, "Oh, Lloyd, wow, I'm a big fan." And then they're like, "Oh, yeah, if I win my fight and you win yours, we'll have a match the second round. That'd be, oh, yeah, cool, man." And then so after the first round, yeah, we've got a match next, and yeah, I'm a bit nervous. And then he was like, "Okay," walked off, and then because the organisation of this particular competition wasn't great, he was like, "Yeah, do you know when the match is going to be?" And so I was like, "Right, I'm gonna fucking lean into this. I'm gonna tip this guy over the edge." So I grabbed him on the shoulders, like, "Whoa, you look a bit tense. Are you all right?" He's like, "Yeah, just a bit nervous." I was like, "You should go and find out how long this is going to be." And I was like, "Yeah, put some of those nerves away." So then he came back. He's like, "Oh yeah, so we'll be having his match soon." And then just little things like I said, looking into his eyes, and he kept breaking eye contact. And the one that I think tipped him over the edge, I went and warmed up next to him. I was doing like my star jumps and bumped into to him, and it really, really shocked him.
Yeah.
But like you say, then after those couple of events, I knew, looking into his eyes as we were walking to the edge of the mat, I was like, "You're gone. I know for a fact you're gone." And the funny thing, what happened was I pulled guard and he put his leg out and I foot locked him in about 10 seconds. And he put his foot in a very daft position. Now, this is somebody who performed exceptionally well the round before and smashed the life out of a very respectable guy. So, for having an excellent performance in the round prior and probably having a bit of nerves and me using my, old age and bit of experience to just nudge them a bit further to the right, and look what it did to the performance. It inverted it, and they performed extremely poorly and made a huge tactical error. So, yeah, mindset is a killer one, and like you say, it's in the eyes.
Do you think? See, I this is what I think as well, but I'm gonna ask you the same question that I'm thinking is, do you think that because we've done MMA as well, right? When you go into MMA, you're preparing for a fight. You're gonna leave everything in there. There's a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu lads now that have never had an MMA fight, right? They've never taken a punch or an elbow. So when they get into that environment where your back's against the wall and you're in a dogfight, obviously the higher level BJJ you go, it's irrelevant because they draw you into a BJJ match. However, the psychology of being used to being in a fight, do you think that's applicable as well? Because I feel like some people that I roll with sometimes, I'm like, you're good and you're technically good, but there's no fight
Yeah,
in
you
that
don't want
dog.
to scrap.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting question, that, because if I reflect upon myself as a person, I don't think I was ever naturally a fighter. Like at school, I'd always be the guy let's talk us way out of this. I'm not quick to violence. I'm not quick to anger.
Yeah.
So naturally, that's not me. Now, okay, but objectively, I only had a couple of MMA fights. They were like amateur, or, was it semi-pro at the time, all
Yeah.
those years ago. However, but in the crucible of places like Next Gen, it used to be Friday night sparring. That was a fucking fight.
Yeah.
You were going to get
Yeah.
walloped. And, the nerves driving to Liverpool on a Friday night, getting ready for that, that was a big one. So I
Yeah.
don't know whether it's the MMA thing, or maybe even so much as, and I think this is something that's come to define my adult life, if you can put yourself in extremely difficult and positions of almost suffering, you know what I mean? And I think you're not going to replicate the same as, like, say, an MMA background where you are literally fighting for survival. But if you're willing to do extremely horrible things, let's say in cardio terms, most people do cardio, they're going to do 20-minute steady jog, or are you actually going to get on an air bike and do several Tabatas back to back where you can barely breathe and you're tasting blood? You know what I mean? Even in jiu-jitsu, there's so many people who won't push themselves to that limit. Or
Yeah.
like in COVID, we didn't have access to gyms. Wink, wink, nod,
Yeah.
nod.
Yeah.
And a dude at work was like, he was a big runner, you know what I mean? And I said, oh, I've never done a marathon or anything like that. And somebody's like giving me a dare to do a marathon, and he was like, oh, you wouldn't be able to do a marathon. It'd take you a year at least to get ready for that. So I was like, fucking, let's go, mate. And I did it after 4 weeks. So before that, the most I'd ever run was 10K.
Yeah.
So after 2 weeks, I did the half, and 4 weeks, I'd knocked out the marathon. And I think the thing in that is that voluntary suffering to getting yourself into a position where you are willing to go through significant levels of discomfort and pain for whatever the objective is. And I think bringing that point back home is MMA would definitely help. Or if you don't have access to any kind of like real difficulty such as that, you need to be replicating it as often as possible.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember who or what said it, but they were like, give yourself a little dose of suffering as regular as possible. And that's the catalyst for growth.
Yeah. I used to train a bit with Stephen Andrews down in Newtown, and he had a lad there training with him. He was a fell runner. Now,
Oh,
I found out the lad's cardio was ridiculous. He was only about 67, 68 kilo. I found out later the level he did fell running at. It was like an international level, right? And he had a fight in Cannock, right? And we had him in the back, and he was getting all nervous. And he turned around to me and Steve, and he goes, I gotta go for a run. And it was icy outside. I was like, listen, mate, if you go out there and slip over, you're fighting in an hour. He went out and he did a 5K just to relax his nerves, like come in. And then obviously the cardio of 15 minutes for him was nothing. His cardio was off the scale, but he had to go back to what he knew just to relax his nerves. And he had a good fight, and he ended up winning, won on points.
Wow. That's the first I've ever heard of somebody knocking out 5K just before an MMA fight. But
literally, yeah, did a 5K, he did 3 mile around the blocks, and then he come in, and then literally did a little bit on the pads, and he went straight on. But he was a freak athlete, like.
Yeah, look, those boys that do fell running, that's just next level shit.
Yeah.
Anytime I've climbed a mountain or a UK mountain or anything like that, and there's some dude absolutely running downhill next to me, it blows my mind.
So when you look at all your competition, your events that you've done, you've been on some big shows, right? Polaris and different stuff. What's like your favorite moment? It doesn't have to be a win or anything. What's your thing that you'd want to tell your kids or your grandkids about? Most inspiring moment for you?
I think probably the Euros was the big one for me for a multitude of reasons. Like in the early days, that was what I would. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons and a lot of emotion around the Euros. When I was like early in jiu-jitsu, I thought that was like the passport to legitimacy. If you can win something as big as that, you are legit. You'll be respected. I think realizing upon the podium that it wasn't everything it's cracked up to be. I expected it to feel like a utopia of happiness and validation. And being on the podium of the Euros, achieving in essence my dreams made me realize it's not the destination, it's the journey. You know what I mean? It's going through all the suffering and the hardship that gets you moving forward. And I always talk about it's the vector, it's the movement towards something that's the transformative piece. And even underscored that more is before the Euros, I broke my ribs. So I was working away and I trained at a different gym, and I did like Kiss the Dragons, going for the guy's back, and he sat down super heavy, and he literally like ripped 5 or 6 ribs here. Literally, I felt like I was getting stabbed every 2 seconds. So I didn't do any jiu-jitsu for 6 weeks before the Europeans.
Right. This is a brown belt, yeah?
Yeah, and then I went on and submitted 5 guys in a row. to win the medal. So realizing that is that you, even on your darkest of days, you can still go out and perform and still knock a performance in if other things are right. And my mindset that day was, you're here, you paid your trip, just go for broke, leave it all out there. You know what I mean? There's no expectation to win considering everything you've been through, but that doesn't mean we don't try as hard as possible. And I think, the mindset shift throughout that tournament is what I take away most, not the medal behind me, wherever it is there.
Yeah.
It's not the medal, it's just that you can feel nervous, you can have terrible prep, and you can still do some damage in a competition. And then realizing that there's never going to be a utopia. You're never going to get to the green pastures in goal attainment. It's always going to be the next thing. And I think for a period after that, actually, that's something I struggled with was gratification.
Yeah, I've struggled with this a little bit. I've won some decent comps and I've never felt satisfied. I've never felt like I've do you know what I mean? I've like my wife always says to me, "Oh, you're too hard on yourself," right? You can never really enjoy that moment that you think
Yeah.
you're going to enjoy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
literally, I was thinking about what I needed to achieve next to become more valid. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I struggled with that for a lot of years, and that's probably why I went on trying to rack up so many different wins and different competitions and stuff, just because I felt like you needed to put a new flag down and move towards it. Now, I think probably where I've got more peace of mind the longer jiu-jitsu I've got is that it's okay to keep having those new goals, and that's why I've come out of retirement now. But what I'm much better at is appreciating or being grateful for the moment I'm in right now. You know what I mean? And just taking this, especially I think probably having kids has given me that. You know what I mean? It's the little times when they're just laughing their heads off, and you're on a trampoline together or stuff like that. And it's simple moments of being a dad where you can just appreciate that moment there. And you know, now I've got the ability that when I do achieve something, I can reflect on it for a couple of days and be more gratified than I were, let's say, 6, 7 years ago.
yeah,
Just because I've got more presence of mind to be able to achieve that. But nonetheless, I think my happiness is tied towards movement, towards a goal. You know what I mean? I'm happiest when I've got something to aim at. That could be providing something, like we've just moved house recently, so really working hard to get things kitted out, and that's a goal. And then there's another one was jiu-jitsu, coming back out of retirement for this match on Grapple Max, or whatever it is. But especially as a bloke, I think, if you're struggling at all, just pick a little goal and start to move yourself towards it. I think there's a lot of happiness to be given in that. But when you get there, put energy and intention into being gratified. It's too easy to just be like, right, next.
yeah, yeah. So when you look back on the Euros now, that win, do you look back at it different now than what you did 7 years ago when you won it?
Yeah, for sure.
When you got on the podium, obviously you were probably dissatisfied. You probably didn't get a sweep that you wanted or whatever, and that was in your brain,
Yeah.
whatever it may have been. When you look back now, you're actually proud of your achievement, yeah, because you should be.
Yeah, for sure. Like I wasn't critical then of my performance, nor I guess am I now. Fundamentally, it went as perfect as it could have gone, I guess.
Yeah,
But the thing I was bitter about for years was that I couldn't enjoy the moment. I've often said that, the best bit about that day for me was me and Livy having a fantastic steak in a Portuguese restaurant overlooking the city, and I think I had a glass of red wine, and that was fucking amazing. That was,
yeah,
enjoying that moment with missus after it had all chilled out. I enjoyed the steak more than I'd worked on a European medal for probably my entire jiu-jitsu career up to that point, 10 years. You know what I mean? So that was a more an enjoyable moment. So I was bitter that I missed the opportunity to be gratified in that win. You know what I mean? For years, I was like, for fuck's sake.
yeah.
Now I'm able to just look back and be satisfied that actually, that's probably as good a gift as you could have ever hoped to receive. You know what I mean?
Mm. No, I really understand that, and I think there'll be a lot of people out there listening that really have that same issue. Really do, mate. Really do.
Yeah, having the ability to be gratified. And I think social media's probably got a lot to do with making that worse because, you know what I mean, when we were kids,
Yeah.
you heard of things usually by word of mouth, maybe on the telly, something like that. You know, a big win's a big win, and it's a long time before somebody else surpasses it. Or now all you have to do is look at fucking Instagram, and everyone's smashing their life to bits and superstars, holidays, new cars,
Yeah.
fucking,
All on the
and
Never Never.
yeah,
It's all a lot of it's fake. Like, do you know what I mean? Like
yeah. But
people
that's
with a
it,
new
isn't it? I
car,
mean,
you know.
everybody else's life looks amazing, and you feel like
Yeah.
your little win pales in comparison, or you've got to continue to go and stack something else up.
Yeah.
So social media does have a lot to answer for that. And I think without putting your time and your energy into being gratified in a little simple moment, you just get lost in all that bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk to you about your Instagram while we're on the subject of social media, right? Monday rants, right?
I retired Monday rants, unfortunately.
Oh, you need to bring it back, man, because
So many people asked for me to bring it back.
so why did you start doing them, mate? Is there things that obviously you'll be in the gym day in, day out like me and that, and you'll be seeing things that frustrate you, right? Give me some examples of things that really frustrate you.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, look, I'm a straight talking Yorkshireman, so I've always got an opinion on virtually everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe it was a bit of a protest about a lot of jiu-jitsu people are really straight laced, don't want to ruffle any feathers and stuff like that. So I was like, fuck it, fuck this. I'm gonna start to say how it is, you know what I mean? So, oh God, like the one that used to piss me off all the time was the GoFundMe babies. The amount of fucking time people would be like, "Oh, go for my dreams. You know, I want to compete in the Europeans or the World Championships in California. You know, it's been always my dream. We're trying to raise 10 grand. And you know what? You end up seeing them fucking go, and it's a holiday. We've gone on holiday for 3 weeks, and they've got beat first round. And then people like me who's had a job all the way through have paid for your fancy 3 weeks, all expenses included holiday. It's
Yeah.
like go fucking fund yourself.
I
So that
know.
was one of the first ones, you know, go fund yourself.
But it's like that everywhere with a funeral now. As soon as someone dies, it's GoFundMe. Do you know what I
Ah,
mean?
you know, yeah, yeah. Our parents' era wouldn't have dreamed of that kind of
No.
stuff, would they? So
Let,
there was
let
that, and I realized the
let
first
me
one.
give you a couple of the ones I like. Membership, living it up, right? Tapping in comps, wearing socks in BJJ.
Oh, socks, fucking hell, socks is the one. Whenever I go to a seminar, everyone's like, "Oh, look, he's got socks on." Now, look,
Honestly.
the thing is, it probably started in a place of like genuine having a whinge, and then I realized how much traction it got and people engaged with it so much. Like, there's a bit of a satirical element to it. So, like the socks one. Do I think you're a bit raffanny if you're wearing socks in the gym when it's cold? Yes. Do I really give a shit and bollock people for it? No. You know what I mean? So, okay. This is when I talk about little bits of hardship. So when it's freezing in the winter and the mat's 1 degrees, do I wear socks? No, I don't. Right? You know, because it's just that little small decision of making a little hard decision. But perfect example, one of the lads the other night, "Oh, look, I hope you're not going to tell me off for socks." I was like, "No, crack on, do what you need to do."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's why I had to start to put disclaimers in about satire because people are like, I wear fucking socks. So I can do what I want. I'm an adult. I'm like, it's a fucking joke, mate. It's a
Yeah.
joke.
It's a joke.
It's a
Yeah.
joke. But it was a really, really good series. But the reason I stopped doing it is, like I said, I'm trying to my best to be a good human and stuff. And I realized there was a lot of strong negative slant towards a lot of it.
Yeah.
And
But it's a joke.
people,
But it's a joke though. Do
yeah,
you know what I mean?
I was
I
just
got the funny
struggling.
side of it, the humor of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but a lot of people miss it. Even to be fair, I'm doing a bit of a new one at the minute, is dumb shit white belts do. And
Yeah.
people are completely missing the humor element to it. And, you know, he's going off in the comments. I'm like, fucking hell,
Yeah.
it's not real life. The point I'm always trying to make is social media is not real life. But, like, look, social media is a tool to promote yourself, to generate business leads, to promote your gym, whatever, right? If I put a video on saying these are things white belts shouldn't do, 2,000 people are going to watch it, right? if I have a joke and go, dumb shit white belts do fucking boxing, wrestling, that was one of the first one I did was like white belts wrestle like the boxing, they get shot on and get taken down.
Yeah.
Because it is something that they do. That they've come from boxing or they've watched boxing matches or MMA and they do this and they get taken down. If I do a video that has a piss-taking narrative or slightly inflammatory, it's going to do 15,000 views. You know what I mean? So I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
I'm curating it in a way that's going to get the most views. And some people really fucking struggle to get their head around that. I'm probably a little bit satirical about it.
Yeah.
So,
The one I like as well is you did it's like a mini motivational speech on, and it's it's called Belts Ain't Shit, right?
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the promotions day.
Yeah. No, I loved watching that because like I've rolled with blue belts, purple belts who have torn me apart. Like, do you know what I mean? And like I'm there and I'm thinking, oh, I might as well throw my black belt in the bin. Do you know what I mean? And you have them days in jiu-jitsu.
Of course.
The belts, they mean something, but they're not everything. And that I think that was the point you were trying to get across, mate, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, it's symbolic of everything you've been through, but for a lot of people in jiu-jitsu, they come to let it define who they are. There's loads of, I'll be honest, loads of negative elements about belts in jiu-jitsu for me. I don't know, I can't speak for other combat arts, but you'll have heard the story a million fucking times. Guy gets a black belt, suddenly becomes injured, suddenly becomes fat, doesn't roll ever again. And a special, or we'll roll with people that he can have a nice, very slow, polite roll with, won't roll with the young killer.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and like I say, I'm 7+ years in at black belt now, and I still am in the trenches with the young bucks trying to push them back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's respective of the fact that your belt don't do the technical element for you. You're only as good as how sharp your training is.
Yeah.
Not only that, I think the culture that I want in my gym at least is that of great, I've got this visual representation on my skill level, but I want to be intrinsically motivated I want to actually be really good at technique, that's why I don't do stripes on colored belts. You can get stripes at white belt, but after you get a colored belt, you should be self-motivated enough. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of things I do in my gym that aren't particularly great for retention or growing the membership of my gym. Now, it's probably okay because I have a day job, right? I've got a corporate career. So I've never needed the gym to be financially successful. It's just been a cool thing to do while I train myself. But I've reflected on what culture I want in my gym, and I want it to be a very competitive, high-level gym where people come in the door, and if they are committed to do so, will be, to be blunt, fucking dangerous at a grappling art X amount of time later,
Yeah.
The net effect of that is we probably lose 6 out of 10 new guys through the door. But, nonetheless, I can then look at my guys and say to them, belts ain't shit, but if I am giving you that belt, you are, it's represented the fact that you are that legitimately that dangerous.
Yeah.
Not one of those gyms where you pay your subs and after 6 months you get a stripe and 6 more months you get 2 stripes and, oh great, you got a blue belt now, you can pay me more membership. It's none of that bullshit. I think you are this level and I would expect you to go to any gym in the country and do damage. And fortunate my students do.
Yeah.
Or people visit. People, we have visiting black belts a lot, and they're like, woof, fucking hell. It's a tough old night in the books.
Yeah. Right, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna stop you there. We're gonna go to a break. I'm gonna bring you back for part 2.